Have you ever heard of a people so strange, so mysterious, that they could not bear the light of the sun? They were known as the Moon-Eyed People, a legendary group spoken of for centuries in the mountains of Appalachia. Long before Europeans set foot in the Americas, when the Cherokee and other tribes lived freely across valleys, rivers, and mountains, stories of these pale and secretive people were passed down from elder to child. They were described as small in stature, light-skinned, and cursed with eyes so sensitive that daylight blinded them. Because of this, they hid inside caves during the day and emerged only under the cover of night. It was for this reason they came to be called the Moon-Eyed People. But the mystery remains, will verite. Were they simply a myth, a creation of tribal imagination, or were they something more? The Cherokee believed the Moon-Eyed People were real, and not only real, but dangerous. Stories tell of battles fought between the Cherokee and this strange people. The Moon-Eyed People, unable to fight in the brightness of day, were easily defeated. Some say they were driven underground, vanishing into caverns where the light could never reach them. Others believed they were wiped out completely. Yet traces of them linger. To this day, in the mountains of North Carolina and Georgia, there are strange stone walls and cave structures whose builders remain unknown. The Cherokee elders always claimed they were the work of the Moon-Eyed People. As centuries passed, scholars and historians began to ask a new question. Could these mysterious people have been Europeans, arriving in America long before Columbus? In Welsh folklore, there is the tale of Prince Madoc, who in the 12th century sailed west across the ocean with a fleet of ships and never returned. Some believe he and his people may have reached the shores of America and founded a hidden colony. The theory is bold, but the details are compelling. The Moon-Eyed People were said to be pale-skinned. Their eyes were weak against the sun, a trait sometimes connected to Northern European ancestry, and they built unusual stone fortifications, unlike anything the local tribes constructed. Could this truly be a forgotten remnant of Prince Madoc's lost expedition? Archaeologists have long puzzled over the Fort Mountain walls in Georgia, ancient stone structures stretching across the ridges of the land who built them, and why. Native tribes offer no claim of ownership. Instead, they repeat the old story. These walls were built by the Moon-Eyed People. If Tisis true, then, the mystery is older, deeper, and more haunting than we ever imagined. Whether myth or history, the legend of the Moon-Eyed People has survived through the centuries. Some dismiss it as folklore, others see in it the shadow of a forgotten truth. But it forces us to ask a haunting question. Did a small group of Europeans really reach the American wilderness centuries before Columbus, living in caves and emerging only under the glow of the moon? Or were the Moon-Eyed People nothing more than spirits of imagination, born from the fears and dreams of ancient storytellers? The answer lies hidden in the Appalachian Mountains, where stone ruins still whisper of a people lost to time. Long after the first whispers of the Moon-Eyed People spread through the Cherokee oral tradition, explorers, settlers, and historians began to hear fragments of the same story. The legend was not confined to one valley or one group of elders. It appeared across the Appalachian Range, repeated with variations, but always holding the same core. A mysterious race with pale skin, strange eyes, and an existence tied to darkness. As Europeans moved into the region centuries later, they too noticed unusual ruins and asked themselves who could have built them. The local tribes offered the same answer each time. It was the Moon-Eyed People. They were here long before us. The Cherokee would say, "They fought Uwas," and when they lost, they fled into the mountains. One of the most enduring puzzles is the Fort Mountain Wall in northern Georgia. Stretching more than 800 feet along a mountain ridge, the wall is made of massive stones stacked without mortars, rough yet deliberate, forming a serpentine barrier. Archaeologists have never reached a consensus on who built it. Some argue it was the work of a prehistoric tribe whose name has been forgotten. Others suggest it was a defensive structure, perhaps a fortress or a ceremonial boundary. But for the Cherokee, the answer has always been clear. This was the handiwork of the Moon-Eyed People. According to tribal lore, the wall was part of their last stronghold, built to shield themselves from attack before they were finally defeated. The structure remains silent, but its very presence fuels speculation. Who could have constructed such a wall in an age when no known tribe in the area used this kind of building technique? The story of Prince Madoc of Wales adds another layer of intrigue. In the 12th century, Wales was torn by strife. The legend tells that Madoc, a disillusioned prince, sailed westward with a group of followers in search of peace and freedom. Their voyage was never officially recorded in European chronicles. Yet ballads and oral tradition in Wales insist that he discovered a new land across the sea. Some versions of the tale claim he returned to Wales briefly to gather more settlers, and then disappeared forever into the western horizon. For centuries, this story lingered as folklore, but when Europeans later encountered the strange legend of the Moon-Eyed People in Appalachia, the pieces seemed to align. Could Madoc's lost colonists have journeyed inland, building stone walls and carving out a hidden life in the shadow of the mountains? Supporters of this theory point to cultural oddities. Reports from early explorers in the Mississippi Valley describe tribes with unfamiliar customs, and in some cases, lighter features than neighboring groups. Stories also circulated about tribes who spoke fragments of a language resembling Welsh. These accounts are debated and often dismissed, yet they have kept the mystery alive. Imagine a small band of Europeans, isolated in a vast new world, forced to adapt in secret, avoiding the harsh sun by living in caves, only venturing out at night when they felt safe. Over generations, their identity would blur, their numbers dwindle, and their existence fade into legend. But not everyone accepts the European explanation. Skeptics argue that the Moon-Eyed People may simply represent a symbolic story. Their blindness in daylight could be metaphorical, reflecting enemies who were not accustomed to the environment or who lacked the strength to endure it. Some scholars believe the legend was a way for the Cherokee to explain the existence of older ruins they themselves had not built. The walls and structures might have belonged to an earlier indigenous culture, long gone by the time the Cherokee arrived. In this sense, the Moon-Eyed People would be a myth born from mystery, not from memory of real encounters. And yet, the physical evidence remains stubborn. The Fort Mountain Wall is not the only unusual sight. Across parts of Appalachia, scattered stone mounds and strange alignments suggest a culture with skills beyond what local tribes were known to practice. These features resist easy categorization. They are too deliberate to be natural, but too alien to fit neatly into the record of known Native American construction. For those who believe in the Moon-Eyed People, these are their silent fingerprints left behind in stone. The mystery also endures because of the emotional weight carried by the story. To the Cherokee, the Moon-Eyed People were not distant, mythic beings. They were enemies, rivals in a struggle for land and survival. The vividness of their description, to pale skin, the weakness in sunlight, the battles that drove them underground suggests something more than allegory. These are the details of remembered encounters, passed from one generation to the next, until history and legend merged into one. What truly happened to the Moon-Eyed People? No one can say with certainty. If they were survivors of a European voyage, their colony must have been small, fragile, and vulnerable. Without reinforcements from across the sea, they would have been forced into desperate measures, hiding in caves, avoiding the sun, and eventually being overpowered by stronger tribes. If they were a forgotten indigenous group, their disappearance was no less dramatic, erased by conflict and time. Either way, the story speaks of a people who once existed on the margins of the known world, remembered only in fragments of stone and echoes of legend. And so the tale persists, half history, half myth, carried forward. Because the ruins are still there, the questions are still unanswered, and the Appalachian Mountains still hold their secrets. Whether the Moon-Eyed People were Welsh settlers, a mysterious tribe, or nothing more than a symbol, they remain a haunting reminder that the past is never fully known. In the modern age, the legend of the Moon-Eyed People continues to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and storytellers alike. Scholars have sifted through folklore, searched ruins, and compared records, yet no definitive answer has ever been found. Some researchers approach the tale with skepticism, suggesting that the Moon-Eyed People were never real at all, but symbolic figures in Cherokee mythology. Perhaps they represented the challenges of foreign invaders, or the memory of an older culture long gone. In this view, their pale skin and blindness to sunlight were metaphors, not biology. But others are not so quick to dismiss the possibility that something tangible once walked these lands under the cover of night. Excavations in the Appalachian region have uncovered stone mounds, burial sites, and fragments of ancient tools. While many can be linked to indigenous tribes, a few remain difficult to classify. Some artifacts suggest building practices and stone arrangements not consistent with known native traditions of the region. This fuels speculation that an unknown group, perhaps small and isolated, left its mark before fading into obscurity. Critics argue that, without solid evidence, such claims are only wishful thinking, yet it is precisely the absence of clarity that keeps the mystery alive. Modern historians who examine the Prince Madoc legend often conclude that it was likely a fabrication, created in the 16th century to give England and Wales a claim to the New World against Spanish dominance. If the tale of Madoc's voyage was a political invention, then tying it to the Moon-Eyed People would be nothing more than coincidence. And yet, even with this explanation, The oral traditions of the Cherokee remain unchanged. The stories of their ancestors were never told for European politics. They were part of a much older memory. For them, the Moon-Eyed People were real adversaries, and their defeat was part of tribal history. In recent years, storytellers and even paranormal researchers have revisited the Appalachian Mountains, chasing the whispers of the Moon-Eyed People. Nighttime expeditions into caves, recordings of old Cherokee legends, and local lore continue to weave a tapestry that is as much cultural as it is historical. For residents of the region, the legend has become part of identity, a reminder that their mountains hold secrets beyond what textbooks record. And so, the question lingers. Who were the Moon-Eyed People? Were they a fragile European colony, lost in time? The last remnants of Prince Madoc's ill-fated voyage, hiding in the shadows until history erased them? Were they an unknown indigenous tribe, conquered and forgotten, remembered only as pale figures who could not stand the sun? Or were they never real at all, a myth born from the mystery of stone walls and ruins that had no other explanation? The truth may never be known. The Fort Mountain wall still stands silent, the caves still stretch deep into the earth, and the stories still echo among the people of Appalachia. Legends endure where evidence fades, and sometimes the line between history and folklore is too thin to separate. The Moon-Eyed People may be gone, but their presence lingers in every whispered tale, every unexplained ruin, and every curious gaze at the mountains under the silver light of the moon. Perhaps that is their true legacy, not proof of who they were, but the endless wonder they inspire. In the end, the Moon-Eyed People remain what they have always been, a mystery in the heart of Appalachia, a question without an answer, and a reminder that history is never as complete as we think.